Okay, my friend, is all yours.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Conte. Thank you, everybody out there. Back here again this Sunday. Dr. Conte, we're going to look at, and welcome on, Mr. Colley. We are going to look at three issues in the Gambia. First off, I am going to make an attempt to kind of rebut Dou Sano's claims in New York that the cost of bread uh, is higher for New Yorkers than Gambians. The cost of bread is higher in New York than in Gambia. So we'll look at the numbers and see what we can make out of what he claimed. And then we will look at the Commissioner General of Gambia Revenue Authorities warning to the government that the subsidies, uh, fuel subsidies and subsidies of basic commodities in the Gambia are unsustainable, and will kind of dissect what this warning to the government entails, and whether the uh, Commissioner General is stepping outside the bounds of the tax authority. Uh, so we will examine that a little bit, and also we will look at the situation of crime in the Gambia, particularly homicides. And recently, the Interior Ministry gave a press conference addressing that issue. So we will see what the press conference entails, what kind of arguments the Interior Ministry is making, and who they are blaming for the increasing rise of violent crimes in the Gambia. So those are the three main things we're going to look at. But a lot of things are also happening in the Gambia recently, Dr. Conte, Mr. Colley, that are worthy of taking a brief look at. We learned from the media yesterday that Dr. Ismail Assise, the leader of political party, Citizen Alliance, just uh, defected. Probably that's not the right word. They have formed a coalition with NPP to support Barrow's agenda for the next 5 years. So Dr. Conte and his delegation were received at the State House yesterday, and there were press releases confirming this. So we might briefly examine that also, what it means for political parties and politics in the Gambia. So those are what we are going to look at. Maybe we should start with Dr. Cesar first. Contrary to what has been widely reported, that Dr. Conte, not Dr. Conte, we have Dr. Conte here, Dr. Cisse, which is Ismaila Cisse. Uh,
Well,
uh,
his mother is Conde, so
okay, got you. So that's pretty close. Defect um, had a coalition. His party had a coalition with Barrow. He has joined Barrow in the administration of the Gambia for the next 5 years. Um, Many critics said that this has been in the making for a while. Dr. Sisi has been gradually gravitating towards Barrow and the NPP in what has been described as a courtship uh, for some time. Dr. Sisi has been spotted visiting the State House on several occasions, at least two occasions. And in some of these, he denied uh, these instances, but lately, his party chairman, in the person of Dominic Mendy, resigned from the party, uh, alleging that Dr. Sisi has abandoned the uh, the values of the party and is uh, in pursuit of what he called his personal ambitions. So We have witnessed that, and now what has been rumored has really come to the open now. The party has joined NPP. We don't know what Dr. Sisi has been promised by NPP and Barrow's government. Many are speculating that the Interior Ministry, which is still yet to be filled, may have been saved for him. We will see if that comes to happen. But currently, the Interior Ministry, the Trade Ministry, excuse my mislabeling there, the Trade Ministry, not the Interior Ministry. The Trade Ministry has not been filled. Many are speculating that that position may have been set for him. I know the Trade Ministry is being supervised by the Finance Minister. So we'll see if Dr. Sise comes to be appointed to this. But this is an unfolding story. And we learned, I was listening to the brunch yesterday on Kerfatu, where Dr. Siddharth Job was being interviewed by Lamin Cham. And Dr. Job made this allegation that, this claim that my father is in the lineup also to join Barrow. I know Mai had been making statements recently that suggest that he is willing and perhaps ready to join Barrow's coalition. So we will see whether he brings with him the whole of GMC or what is left of GMC to join Barrow and NPP in the next 5 years. Dr. Conte, Mr. Colley, you probably heard about this new development where Dr. Sise and his remnant of CA visiting the State House in an event that marked a coalition, the beginning of a coalition or a merger with NPP. What do you make of this new development in Gambian politics? Dr. Conte, Mr. Colley.
I'll give him to go ahead first.
Well, what I make of it simply is it shows the extent to which Gambia's political atmosphere has degenerated. I wish this was somebody else, not the person in question, because it's just like someone that you deem kind of close to you from the same town, the same Kabilo area, sort of. But all that aside, I think Gambia is more important. If this happens to be my own brother, like my own biological sibling, this is the same response I'm going to give. The whole thing speaks volumes of political deterioration, leadership conundrum, gross political ineptitude in leadership that we have been suffering in that tiny sliver of a land we call Gambia, or motherland. It shows we don't only have ego gladiators in our midst in the Gambia, but we do have a litany of political opportunists, simply because we want to keep a lifestyle rolling, a lifestyle, financial lifestyle that is not sustainable if we're going to use our individual merit. I don't care if you have a doctorate. If that doctorate is not so marketable in the Gambia, Gambia is not the Western world. You can have a double PhD. I think, doctor, are you calling?
Hello, doctor?
No, somebody's calling me. He's trying to get in. So okay. You go ahead, yeah. Mr. Colley.
So we can have PhD holders in the Gambia, but are they marketable other than working at the University of the Gambia? Is one question. The other one is, The way we define success in the Gambia forces us to be corrupt. I've spoken to Gambians that would justify corruption and nepotism. They don't see anything wrong with it because they think that at Momo Bedamika Balu Waleto. So the little opportunity that strikes, you jump for it and grab it. Dr. Sise, I don't, wallahi, it is against my will to mention his name in this, but I would not be fair to Gambia and Gambians. I've spoken about people, I've spoken about Barrow, I've spoken about Hussein Dabo, I've spoken about Khalifa, written about all these people. I've spoken and written about Yaya Jammeh, Jawara, the whole 9 yards. So I don't think I'll be fair to Gambians if I recuse myself from making comments as far as this development of late is concerned. I was at work and I had like, I think, few minutes to eat. And I turned my phone on and I'm seeing all these pictures and messages. Dr. Cisse is a brother. I regard him as a brother. We all come from the same Brikama area. He used to come to a house that I am still in communication with. That house is very close to our house, my father's house, where I was raised. Now, there are people in that Kabilo, brothers. They don't have access to an MRI. So in that Kabilo, wallahi, there is a family that is very close to Dr. Cisse. That family, they're very, very close to Dr. I'm going to speak really slow. That way, I wish we could say this in the local language. That way, the average Gambian.
Feel free to do so.
Yeah. So Dr. Cisse used to, I would say he grew up visiting this house. No, if he goes through this video, the Dou Sanos, the Siaka Jatas, the Alkali Contes, anyone that see Papa Koli as like an arch enemy, they're gonna tell him, oh yeah, he's in Kalajira. I took him surprise. He's gonna say this. I know Doctor is gonna be like, oh, my own little brother, et tu brute. I think he's gonna be like that. Et tu brute, but I think I'm the one who should say et tu brute. Really? You also, Doctor? You also, Dr. Cisse? So Doctor used to visit a house in our neighborhood when he was growing up. He's my senior, he's older than me. But we never had a time to kind of even sit down and chit chat. I was very, very little, but Doctor used to frequent that house a lot. So that house in question, there is somebody in that house that needed an MRI intervention, a diagnostic. I can't go into the specifics. Doctor knows the family very well. Dr. Cisse, if you're listening, that's the reason I don't call you anymore. Because I don't want to lose my temper and then say things that I was not supposed to say. Well, I'm going to call a spade a spade. The only communication we've had since after this election is whenever there's like Tobaski or Ramadan or some feast, Doctor will just send me a text message, Eid Mubarak or Ramadan Mubarak. That's the kind of rapport we have right now. Everything else we have forgotten. So I used to bring him to for Gambian newspaper, interview him on air. There's a lot that Doctor said. Him and I, we all agreed on, including Dr. Kandil himself. The one that here. I used to bring all these people to for Gambia radio. We will have discussions about the way forward, especially the way Barrow has been ruining our country. I remember we ran a headline where Dr. Conte, Dr. Cisse, these two figures and Sabali and others were like, they had the same discourse, the same conviction that the opposition had to be united. That's the main thing. The opposition had to be united to salvage Gambia, to rescue Gambia from this place. So back to what I was saying, Dr. Cisse used to visit a house in my neighborhood in Britain. I grew up playing soccer under the feet of Dr. Cisse's older and older brothers. I grew up playing soccer, so that's the kind of thing that those people would not know me by name, but when you live in the same neighborhood and you You follow your Kodokel, you see them every single day. So my Kabilo is called Brikaman Newton. Dr. Caesar's brothers used to play for Brikaman Newton. Okay? They used to train for Brikaman Newton people with division in their hands. We all came from the same area. That's the reason why I'm making this reference point. This is not about Terika or Badia or Tolobada Kabila, no. But that is a patient in one of those houses where Dr. Conte would frequent. This is like the early 90s, like 1988, 89, 90, 91, probably 1988 to 89. Every single day we will cross paths. I was a kid, he was like a little older, but he will come to that house. There's a person in that house right now who needs an MRI scan, Dr. Cisse, if you're listening. Dou Sano, Siaka Jata, Alkali Conte, Nalbi Lamoikam, Kordabe Brikama Newtown. Or for that, Dr. Cisse will diata back. Kordaning Nadiam Tano Lundola. Kafunya Meronyam, Nkai Meronyam, Atakafunya Meronyam Bantale, Ntanongolong Kabring. It was a well-off family, a well-established family, a well-bred family. Yaron dunia kulka change. Wa family la conditional Benjamin B. Ila minyanta kala breadwinner. Dr. Kananu Mia. Onim doctor was yabata doctor tila. Kodogenying it will be where the earliest travelers in Dola Kabiloko. That are Germany, European countries doli began. Kodoke, what a wonderful guy. These are the cream of our society. Kodogenying ala mining sa mantenko. Doctor, if you listen, dabuka sila mola de. Metonya le folale. Na kweta mi enkili debate la bang debate na jibe abijmale watila inshallah. But okay, he has an internal bleeding in the brain, a small, a minute bleeding. So family in Kabilo mode, they needed help. That te baluring sign, mero te baluring. Then Kabring Kiwaro for the come. My doctor will command the Gambia. Mko fala try bang. Ale MRI, nyim fudan the MRI scanner come. Doctor will konyeko, there is no single MRI scanner in the Gambia. O family nin Dr. Cicelo will kunto bi anya jo nyanda ka jolo. Baroye kodo mintanang ka chartered flight ni luase kana New York jam 38 million wole ka fo. Onim padiemol mankelen. So millions and millions wolte MRI scanner sambala nambang. So nata computed tomography nata wole ke kado MRI scanner machine killing Gambia. Okay, I'm trying to draw Dr. Cisse's attention to the suffering of that family. Mr. Jada.
Yeah.
I'm trying to draw Dr. Cisse's attention to the dire condition of that family. Family mian ko kabrabe diaring Dr. Kanajile Tinyangwala almost every single day. Ndolnga Dr. Low wala to mom. Ndol dindi mali to siatam tulbi. War family, wallahi, all they are just a symptom of Gambia's bigger problem right now. MRI scanner kotoke miano ko kabrin dad banta delen dad dinke followed. Adele nyanta ka family la kul samba. Mero minje do ata mamme. Mero jana minjo ka do ala mental status nyem problem dinne finde je. Molian commande ya fonyo. Wosi fale yo kotoke nyen commence san. Docteur la kotoke le nyent. Kotoke miano ko tole docteur topoto kana je ti nyangol. I cannot go into details. But doctor, maybe somebody would alert you, draw your attention to this video later on, a rerun of it. What family Sifa Jamalabe Gambia, all they needed was a doctor's intervention to see if this is a symptom of Alzheimer's or something else. Because mero wale mero minjo data wala billahi. Kodoge nyina mero. So mero lako it was late. Kabrin kodoge le symptom ol findida. Nko ala rushing di Gambia dauda MRI beda mensanga ko dol topoto nga doctor ko nyiko MRI scanner kilimantara Gambia jam ya jame men sanwi ci nyaatal baro madara ama repair ama replace MRI scanner, if you near $50,000 or maybe MRI scanner solal. Near $130,000 to $150,000, ebe MRI scanner solal. Wolonga munefale nkale ko baroka tata China or one Asian country, $754,000 or more. Somewhere in that neighborhood, Akai would spend on tickets 750 something thousand US dollars on tickets. Right? It turned out to be a bribery. Are we under a spell for Dankalebang Gambia and Moria Lebang? So only in the Gambia, political party they have never been tested election-wise. If that is an imaginary threshold to gauge their accomplishments, their viability as a political party, that is known, that's zero in existence. Citizens Alliance Lemba, GMC Lemba, in any Kabila Jumale win, Mana Jankanda Dumila. Eka kumol mimfono waleka dianye, so wala sabu nka Dr. Komandi, kafom tole beta kwenye kile wana manjande. Wala sabu nka Dr. Komandi, njekita ala kendeke, nka samana, nka interview na rajin furindongo nyento, na mimfona fo nka safe. Jiko ole bije ko, these are probably the promising generation of politicians for the Gambia. But the MRI scanner, Mantara Gambia, Ndolbeka o Kumbo, Nin Dr. Sitala, I have the records here, I have the audio tape. I interview Min Grant Ndoli 2020 Sangokona. COVID money, Nin Dr. Sitala, 5.8 billion. Ndekombe Kongo Nyintuna, Konya Halama Dimbala, let me help you with that figures. 508 billion baron yule mutaya embezzle mbeo watu kuna atebo for what man we got the figures already because mole the Ministry of Health inside them I email jambale kina mole verbatim dolfa nga publish wona nyama without even anything redacted nga publish wona verbatim molka the Ministry of Health Dr. Samade Kotoje ibadi ngole ka kodo mode ki ibadi ngol register on the roll kodo be kiladron molla kodo be wesla non kot la ka MRI scanner sang. So that what families if I'm not Dr. Caesar Katawoto Tina or Mokaba Dindima, Ndemansula Gambia Bulu Fen, Ninda Gambia any day come another palace, Amanga Halak. But Momo Fana Nanula Kumbo imagine you are in a position of power or influence. Ikaraiko Ikala Barolekang, Wallahi Ahalako Nanga Singa Jibiban. Ndolsano Nangarasi, another country in a Dimalto Proje for Janin Jalaribina Lomina. Bari Barakanta Yale Yente, anim balafam anomo kana fanya jam atol kal dadu mole gameno ne tonya fa ko ya nenne atebe mon la million sunya nim billion ndeyen neng wole fisa ina ko sunya neno nimbe lalan kana telephone off because foirol control le call beka baro call ida Dr. Sise call it baro call it my party call my party in Dr. Nyol ila political party they don't have that threshold of viability. They haven't attained that threshold, they haven't reached it where a merger between them and any other political establishment would be something meaningful. But only in the Gambia, more near Facebook, only 3 Facebook likes the wrong. Ikamra koha insulta berekande sambar na political party for. Imagine you more food and see if siari in Gambia. He said more 3 Facebook likes. Akamra ha that's enough accolades for him to start a political party. Imagine we have buffoons in leadership. Ali Kenkena in internal debate. Yalan nin journalist can be Gambia. Ibenye question si fale askla. Dr. Cisse Lembang, my party Lembang, Bachile Lembang, you know, Hani Cisse constituency, ya win the Gambia. They don't. Hani Cisse wala ala fanya Kabila killing, Gambia kono by dami win. Hani Alkali anilo tala ya win ba. But Gambia kunimbali and karambali akama and infahambali akama and in intellectual laziness. Nigo Gambia no intellectual, you don't come to moment at American University or Angleterre. No, it's a for the kaba dumbe nyol mu intellectual for sila nyol intellectual kati ki mire la mirolo le fotaje amanka community sila trabola class mo ko wala intellectual yat no wonder ni me cost dantan dunay ne ka baka don city watch the National Assembly. You see all the signs and symptoms of our problem. Watch some other group where people have to talk and the intellect has to be cerebral in those venues. That's where you tell whether Gambia is going to make it or not. I'm not saying we don't have others that are promising. But more Facebook, 3 Facebook likes or Instagram or some few followers. America now he's a political force to reckon with. Wakaki Gambia drone. Nimbanku dole bafla my fajele and Dr. Sisenyol Mume. Ya for Dr. Ite Mindole win. If you have a business and you want to form a merger,
You don't just pick any Tom, Dick, and Harry and merge with them. No, no. I remember Ted Turner of CNN. One of the greatest blunders he did was to merge with Time Warner, AOL, America Online. Nobody hears of AOL anymore, right? But back in the days, in early 2000s, AOL was something here in business in America, America Online. So this guy, Ted Turner, the founder and owner of CNN at that time, he merged with AOL. And then later on, he said that's the biggest regret in his life. He said, before you merge with somebody, man, you got to do your digging. He didn't do that. They kind of kick him away. They kick him out. He now owns, the last time I checked years ago, I think if he had like 7 million shares, 7 million of CNN's worth, 7 million shares of worth of CNN, or even less, if I have not forgotten. What else I got Ted Turner to from America Jankata, people that are civilized and they have like a mentation that is intact. Well, book any major sifal ke wo nyama ini mo furun every time they can have no ibika okay. Malafin juso ba back mbatu ngam fu nyane dro ngal bla ale continue. Also because ndol ningen sangro le kadiam Mr. Jadam. Billahi wallahi Gambian tol fo mo len dankabam. Ye banko dol jibe wala min as you are facing the camera right now, the two of you, Dr. Conte, Mr. Jadam. Samsung in Korea, they're thinking of the next generation Samsung. Google is thinking of the next Surface Pro. All right? All these big companies, Tesla, Elon Musk, Missouri, that's an engineering school. You can find Missouri School of Science and Technology or engineering. Abe Rola. It's a small village, but in general school, like a drone or Karanyu Penkol, in Adobe, North Carolina, Ikirida with it. Jindim Merol Lenyente, Wolka Wulu Watomina, Perosol Groom, these are going to be the next generation scientists. In Tolnimo Furun, Kawalasona Bankolka, Parasimino Leng, Animusu Bar, Lando, Aninka Asobil Titlama Wolem political. No one Anikom yet define politics, they cannot even spell it. Those who cannot even spell politics, will like a more lecture about politics. Masi Bole Bentol. Ndol diso kabara no mota nanyi because meta dairin kapo jang kare yali sabar na langue le manna texo mamuna nimmi amra fana ngenen finde bang nga kano code bang nga disol code bang nga gambere constitution code bang nga jumale neng anu manyina mo refala ngamuna po manyina men bismillah I'll continue because
thank you, Mr. Colley. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Conte.
No, Mr. Ibrahim Debasit. Thank you, Mr. Jada. Ibrahim is online and he has other commitments, so I would like for him to provide an idea. Ibrahim.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. My regards to you all and all the to your audience as well. So I'm following the discussions. I'm kind of listening. So I think you're going right way. So I'll be listening definitely.
Thank you. Doctor, go ahead.
For me, I just cannot believe in less than maybe a year, 5, 6, 7 months, when we had a meeting on Gunjoro Online, I suggested to Dr. Cisse to join NPP, and he felt that was an insult. So I'm wondering what actually has changed his position. And somebody also said, "Ko atol PhD molu." Yarafala kamaten. Model uncle, somebody called me at 3 a.m. this morning. I'm not part of that, and actually, I'm reassessing whether I should even support Barrow. But I will make that announcement by December. What I'm very concerned about, Halifa must be laughing right now. And I also saw postings from some folks I never thought would even write to say Dr. Cisse is a sellout. And I won't say this person's name. He had a very promising feature, but he messed it up. Dr. Cisse wasn't transparent, and even if he's listening to me, just because his mother is a Conte, I don't spare anyone when it comes to my politics. The mere fact, that They were, I supported Barrow and I disclosed it. And Mr. Jata, I think you did the same.
Yeah.
But because someone told me that they saw him driving a brand new SUV. And he tried to deny that. And then he gave an excuse that he went to Kaur. So and then when he came, he said that he's going to concentrate on teaching. And then all of a sudden he changed his position now to say coalition with NPP. What coalition does CA have? Because CA, in my view, is dead. Number one, a very good friend of mine, Dominic Mendy, a very principled guy, who I know we still uphold our beliefs in ethics, because if you are a St. Augustine's graduate, you're supposed to abide by those ethical principles. He left the party. And then I think there is more to this. No one can convince me that when he went to the State House, and he can listen to what I say, because we are in politics. Some of us may have to go to the other camp because we cannot afford what is happening in the country relative to our fiscal and monetary policies. And then on top of that, you add corruption, which is mind-boggling. To see a promising Gambian who everyone was excited about with when he wanted to run, and then to see him act like this, even went to the extent of even giving up his citizenship in Sweden. To do this, I've never seen this in the Gambia. So he said that he wants to go and teach. What has happened to his mental stage? I just cannot fathom, that the contradiction. And then you see what is happening in the Gambia. Cost of living is high. The Gambian dollar has depreciated to 55. Someone told me at the black market is $60. Yes, we will rejoice for us who send money to our people back home. But at the end of the day, those people will have to turn around and go and buy goods that are imported goods with those inflationary prices. No, I just cannot believe an intellectual who teaches at the University of the Gambia can sell his soul. I am very, very disappointed. But for me to go on the other way, no, I'm actually more of renouncing my support to NPP because of all this corruption going on. But I say, you know what, wait until December, make your decision on that. Because what is happening in the Gambia is totally unacceptable. Incompetency is, and then during the election, these were the same folks, anytime we called them, they would answer. Any posting we made on Facebook, they liked it. But now if you try to engage them, they are all gone. So let him go and be a minister. And what the opposition now should do is to ensure next election, the chair/mayor election, that NPP doesn't win a single seat. We all have to agree on that. This is not the time for party politics, when you have incompetency in the country, you have to say something. I don't get it. I'm so disappointed. And when he attacked Barrow, say Barrow lacked pedigree or something, and for him to come and contradict himself and give him bad name to all the intellectuals, say we only thing we care about is to get positions. We fought against the UDP, say that the 2%ers. I would rather have the 2%ers than have Dr. Sisse now. So did he just decide to do this for his own benefit? And any one of you who, if Dr. Sisse is your friend, you're not in the Gambian Titano Nyato. We can go back to Sirif Sisse when he fell out with Sadauda. Sirif Deba, when he fell out with Sadauda, Hassan Musa Kamara, and for Sirif, may his soul rest in peace. Some of the people who benefited under Sadauda, Sirif brought them to the commercial bank, brought them in politics, only to betray him. And we're seeing the same thing here. So no one in the Gambia can tell Barrow you are incompetent, or you have people around you that you need to find a way to replace them. It seems like it's business as usual when you do all these corrupt practices and so forth. So even though I supported Barrow because some of us did that because of the 2%ers, but 98% of UDP people are decent. So when it comes to the interest of the Gambia, am I just going to say, oh, I fought with the 2%ers, they tried to shame me, so because of that, hell no. No, I'll say hell yes, but that yes will not be until December. I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Dr. Conte. Very well said. I think Dr. Caesar's defection, his coalition with NPP, spells really very bad news for the opposition in the Gambia. I think pretty much we saw that since the end of the elections in December, much of the new political parties and independent candidates all gravitated to NPP to join Barrow's government, probably in seeking, to be part of the stand to be beneficiaries of the new political order. Pretty much what is left in the opposition now is UDP and Dou. Even GDC, Kande is showing interest in meeting Barrow. I don't know what he wants, actually, but he has made several advancements in trying to reach out to President Barrow. So the opposition is pretty much crumbling, against Barrow. So one can say this is probably the beginning of the end of politics in the Gambia. But we will see how all this plays out. We'll see what happens in the next weeks and months. Probably GMC will follow suit, Dr. Cisse and his party. And then maybe GDC will eventually follow the line also and march on to the State House. But we will see how this plays out. We're going to go on to briefly the claims by Dou Sano. Dr. Conte, I sent you a spreadsheet. I don't know if you can display that, but I'll go over it briefly here, and then we'll move on to our next topic. Dou Sano, when President Barrow visited New York to attend the United Nations General Assembly, Dou Sano was seen in social media making a bold claim that the cost of bread in New York is $6 per loaf of bread, which is much higher than what it is in Gambia. So his argument basically is that New Yorkers are paying more for bread than Gambians are, and so Gambians should not complain about the high cost of bread in the country. So I try to pull up some numbers here to see whether his claim is correct or wrong. This is what I have. As of this past Wednesday, the cost of a pound of bread, 1 pound loaf of bread in New York is $1.76. And the cost of bread in the Gambia is $10. So what I did is that I actually compared these to the earnings in each of these. The earnings in New York, if you take minimum wage in New York to be $15. Most places pay more than this. Most companies now start you on $17, at least $17. Some are entry level, some are starting you at $19.50, something like that. But I went for the minimum. I just picked $15 an hour. If you make $15 an hour in New York, you can have an income of $2,400 a month. All right. So So if you look at the PPP, and I use PPP, purchasing power parity, this is a modified form of it. I didn't use the actual formula for calculating PPP, but I just wanted to do a brief comparison of what percentage of New Yorkers' wage, monthly wage, actually can afford a loaf of bread. And when I do this computation, I see that less than 1 cent of New Yorkers' monthly wage can get them a loaf of bread. In the Gambia, with the minimum wage being for 2022 being at $50 a day, if you calculate that for a month, a Gambian make just a little bit less than $1,000 a month. Minimum wage. I know the maximum is much higher than that, but if you go by the minimums, that is what it will tell you. So price of bread in the Gambia would be like 19 cents. So if you average these by their monthly wage, you will see that a Gambian by PPP, purchasing power, modified purchasing power parity that I use, a Gambian would spend about 1% of his monthly wage to acquire a loaf of bread, which is roughly like a penny for each dollar. A penny for each dollar, right? 1%. So I'm denominating all of these in dollars. So you will see that a Gambian is spending more of his monthly wage than an average New Yorker with minimum wage, right? And even if you go by Dou Sano's numbers, like Dou Sano claimed that a loaf of bread in New York is $6. Even if you go by that, and you calculate that using the minimum wage in New York, you will see that an average by PPP purchasing power parity, New Yorkers spend only 0.25% of their monthly wage to acquire a loaf of bread. So based on all of these, even at Dou Sano's claimed price of bread in New York, an average Gambian spent 4 times what an average American spent on a loaf of bread. So I don't see any justification for Dou Sano's claims. I think based on my approach to calculating these numbers, Dou Sano is wrong. Rather than the Gambians paying less, Gambians are actually paying 4 times more on bread than Americans are. And that is by using the higher number that Dou Sano claimed. If you go by the actual price of $1.76, it's a lot more than that. So I think that can rest Dou Sano's claim. The spreadsheet there, if you go over it, you can see how I computed all of these. And I put a picture there, Dou Sano with a loaf of bread making that claim. That picture is from Facebook. I did cite my source at the bottom, at the foot of that photo. So credit goes to the person who posted it on Facebook. I don't remember his name, but his name is written down there. Mr. Colley, Dr. Conte, do you have anything to add to Dou Sano's claims on this? Otherwise, we'll just straight go on to the crime situation in the Gambia.
I'll add that there's a bigger picture a lot of us may lose sight of in this whole Dou Sano bread allegations or assertions. What kind of bread? New York City is not Gambia. You're talking about over 9 to 10 million people from all over the world. Every country is represented in New York. I used to live in New York City, although briefly on and off. They have different kinds of breads and sizes.
The last time I was there, that's a quality bread, Italian, 50 cents, not $6. You see what we call fulabitical in the Gambia, fulabitical at the corner convenience stores in the Gambia shops. New York has a lot of those. You go to the Bronx, you're going to see those fulabitical types run by the Hispanics or the Pakistanis, but mainly Hispanics. They have a 50-cent bread. Dou Sano, that animal, I'll hack it to them. That animal is going to lecture us about New York. This animal, from wherever he came from, this misinterpretation, mistranslation of a Gambian DNA. This bad genome, this bad gene, respect to all minka nachosano le wol. By the Kankran Sito long, Mburo la press of Molon New York Minto and Romianco, Nataja and Apradul Kujang, Napatasi Takijanga Kamul Kujang, Purkom Buro in Sang. Sanya Muan, Dolbijan Sanya Tans of those Sanya Tanani Bija Bomburosan. Ide Kankran Jafole low for my Mambarakaje. Carmona me to Makabiga Kankran Jafole. Hanna Mona Majan Jarjas Monka. Okay? Mburo ben New York City, Gambian Cola, I don't even video Lamoina, Alba Jibela. Mburo ben New York City, Tebedana Wato, 50 cents. Ikaranya, and you corner shop and Wolefanka Betia, and supermarket Mburo. Mburo size theater, Gambia, because of the backwardness, we are so. We're so addicted to. We don't want to use our head. I'll hack it to the Mafo Gambian bit, but majority of us we don't want to use our head. New York man, America man, Gambian, American and Buru size all they're different. Billah is Muro size sifa belibija. But Gambia only one size usually. Ponita la Parisian to new westernized finko to isa is a cake finding but ibaga vole bamburo. But Gambia kom buro mol haklo kada moneka. Tapala size and in senfula size. Khalas, found them. Dou Sano ye wole long. Tapala panin senfur. Ila mirano danta wala. America be nyaming, America lamburu size on mbuka moy molka info al nga nyem fo Dou Sano nga non kana fo Dou Sano nga fo Gambian ko le kada bole mislead ka. Mburol membe New York City an America jang. Male nga wuri ngata fenko do ngambur do la size sambalena. Mburo la size jama bale ya America ide milla ila famine iko le pigia samba ya jo. Mburu kunkilo myana ko ninte kile nga do mbuka banka nin tike sometimes wando nga nin bara jambol dada nte kile ninga bam fanan kono ka fa 50 cents ndola jang supermarket o membi jang wallahi nkada jelen ka sana 50 cents so nka jama balisa dino la kadiba Italian bread ol bijele Mexican la bread bijele American bread muketol ma bak mburo lo bijele ke slice and slice so America ka fo mburu ku you cannot use that as a yardstick to apply to all kinds of breads in America no they have different sizes at a size mean mburu America mi alonko aka $6 ibika for mburo maybe a banana bread I don't think Dou Sano will even I can't from them Mr. Jada ali banana bread yajele right
yeah
trouble ka banana bread yala American on dolka for me pie idolka for pie de nyimo fumul kun sorano le kana jene be banko be mol misle kata fe gamen kol kun soronda le kate all right doctor albe banana bread lone benga banana bread lone kodi all right ndola job la nos do bigi akonye kombatinga banana bread de da inga sambe yena years ago I banana bread that I samana Walmart ka banana bread wafele is a very expensive animburo la ko jamfadan exactly look at this okay look at this but banana bread bijel mialan ko ika banana tay ka da barika fenjamale kije woman kem buro tede and I'm very sure Dou Sano mo pick de Dou Sano be county manyala but brother ale ni remember nang article do safi for Gambia ngai nyadi lies and the lying MPP liars that tell them Fanyal nim fanya fola membe MPP kon minko fanya sifal isa transfer woni amade ka nyulo George Orwell ye min safi ala bu ko 1984 barola masakuna la tarambulo mo nyinete kol la opposite wo fo dorong membe kirin kana fo adama be mor halaki kan adama be Gambia tora kan nyami e kai adama kairo hino bar malaka fo nyim malafika dolto ba Dou Sano bijela and ni dem adama Gambia dingol be fakal left right and center Gambia don ka Gambia dingo frewo tombon say wala easy da kan nisi frewo tombon Gambia wallahi ni muto nyal mandra jam kan just for a hyperbole this is real kan nisi frewo tombon Gambia wala kolera san ka Gambia adama dingo frewo tombon bar hano I wuloli ka fay ko adama kairo hino baro mun kayra sifa wo mo kayro ye George Orwell jela min fo I will book min sabi 1984 war is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. They are directly antithetical. I will someone know I society predict society man ko bimbe wala kono abe mansakunda dola bolle tailing kanji. British wala mansakunda lembang, American wala mansakunda anyimbu ko safe wala kama ke tailing. Akoda will come a time freedom will be so restricted and what about America? But ikamune nene ikapo mole ko this is the land of the free. Kuma dol fo jajaji be bine arasle be sama. I don't want to delve into that. Dou Sano, that's the modus operandi, whether they are aware of it, whether they are conscious of it or not. And that's what's happening in French-dominated Senegal, our next door neighbor. Okay? War is peace. Adama be mol be fa kan karal adama tata faraba ye kido yele dinol kanje ye fa ninko ya jamay mol fala frawna mol fala jumana ne mroje frawna bulaka mol kanate but alako frawna mol fala so ya jamay mol min fana fa ye mroje ya jama bulwa be mol kanate wala imam mroje abul atele because ku jama bi jakarata la masakunda kodo anda kalamtale anda sa wata jobay na ma wata jobay godo yaay mol fala right ndale nga fo kadu evidence wol finditala han arfana ka fala qul hatu burhanakum ala evidence finditala Adama fray mol fa wala nyama Adama tata faraba janne ye paral ki jele ka live ammunition yele gambe di won kan ke fa Adama yakela bari ñul ko Adama khayro hino baro George Orwell ko nyaadi yi mo furmol wotmo ni be mol brainwash kan big brother is watching wo boko nyinto e ka fa mole war is peace no kelo mo khayro freedom is slavery no nale freedom of fonsoro mo joyalete ignorance is strength konsoromanya bamba walen kekende yale wote wallahi mo furmo drone be konsoromanya jamuna akafu mu fenati mel ko mo setitrala ako ignorance is strength abe briso le telling kan ani american wala western society bina laban na nyami abe ay nyimbu ko safe wal kama ke tele wala be kiring Gambia bi mburobe dabes garawri ndola brikama jine fulo la ka benje ani Senegal la be ko jine fulo e ka brikama furu mburu jan la traité ni ka fay ko nima mburo la price o kapo mbela furo janela adama sembo dila je min diate ka jay Gambia ka wait until a Bellona's bridegroom strike mom yana kay Gambia kan a barakata katambi adam barona la Dou Sano mola ni way banko ta luma min menna banko mutala nga binde akam de ka weed kunko weed out nyame but hanwo imo furu le kay adama khayro hino baro all right molbe fakan left right and center woni musol la fatimta mankilin e kay adama khayro hino baro so sa nyimol alngi nyininka natre to le mande ka moy tolti or any other language e kanyi express minna munem khayro ya define to le ba munem hino de musole fatimot at an alarming rate in less than 24 months over 456 women miano ko ifata tingodo over 320 something to 50 something dina nol miano ko wol fana fata tingodo mon khayra sifani hina sifale be o bala wanan ko Gambia fo en tol dankale bang karanal ben kon karanal bije wallahi wol sen tol karandi ay adede nya almamul bije dol ya be ke sada no moti adama baro bala nin to nyalbe fo la nyaade adama khayro hino baro no wanda Dou Sano nyimmo furon mel ko nyulman fello hani siwo ita na fala dunya wolle bina New York City yentol ibe Gambia tiaga so fayla molka bayna New York City ye mburo pick at random ka fo ika fanya fo Gambian ko le ko mburu mu $6 in New York and New York people will strike in the streets. America mom put hani Great Depression man la mburu for $6. Corona fela nata jang COVID kada jane mburu mom for $6. World they have institutions. In a society they have their weaknesses and they have their strengths. Yes, yela problem so trouble yela problem so Western civilization they are not immune to these social vices. Yes, yela problem so yela corrupt era fana so bay tol nin tolu sangoni banko tobo nin tolu sangoni banko tobo kala fi baraka dingola Dou Sano nyosi baltande adama khayro hino baro mola loftan do han grofo mantareje adama khayro hino baro doctor ol finde jeni strike and also the same thing ni min ko bidamala ye silence yajale ni accident on be kirin ten pressure group dole form da Gambia police ol ba ko dole yen contact ja wallahi nin alatema mantra story kenson sata talent kuma wallahi mana wala ja what benefit would I have doing that Gambia police ol dolbe ye kafole law anti accident kafolom because Gambia ranks the whole world in 2021 in 2020 Gambia ranked number 8 in road fatalities accident on mi anaka ka mo fa wanta e damage mulka fa ka tus nying sila kan accident to nyamin Gambia American embassy finda yes statement on release yela sidin sol woni ko avoid night driving completely or when it is raining nasilo they are not safe Gambian of driver jama bi nyin gine wolen kada Senegal kada modol they don't care mulka fa left right and center iko adama khayro hino baro wo pressure group emanke pressure group organization long it only from Gambia ding wala yang contact ye ko intol fana grant interview nga grant interview 2020 guess what Baro government ila keba yamda ya transfer ya fight in the provinces so that they will not run that organization bar hanwe mol kay ko Dou Sano nyala ka fay adama kayro hino baro Gambia garawda nyim billah wala wanan ko lu nyimo buga kayra jele nyim billahi niaje ngel tan is a fake laughter this is macabre anon etol membe be nyin kono jang nen dol mi soto no dunya jwala folo be fala alawlong la khira msakiti je inshallah ite kanala ala 38 million ka always pleno kuna ibe o justify la monala mburo a loaf of bread Dou Sano be Gambia hani kota la balanga nan manta ja barko afala ko di ma sambaje wallahi alsa hakedo dem deba fula tane moten stop la nyina wallahi ngelo minaten to nyata kalo ke bal neng everyday bari because of ethics and include kamana man fa ko ngelo minaten from arambro downward ke balu ne nimbanko dole ka wala ke kemano na Paul biya wala kala process al kata hotel to le ba ne bante man fa ko advice kana okay wallahi kana okay anu momo ko bo kala mbi sabar la ngap ngi sabar ngoy ko ndole jiso ka bo katambal tol because document dem bul mel ko a lot of Gambians they don't have those price will be certain to nyamenta dan diamta audio be bul jene brisole mem fonu kabika Gambia independent grant I have those documents here Gambia ba fon sambala nyadle the British Empire they gave hints we don't need a lecture from them ndo we know how mem fon sambala nyade yale poro ya sega ya di Senegal la bi Senegal na rene airport tambulu Macky Sall ka baro advice whoever God knows who kanyin tax kolengo la mol kam lamo Gambia don sign min ka fly kata Dakar wala siada na min kana Gambia sign fa nga grawda kapring ngana independence la nim bidama nan manke on presidential level bar hanwo imo funol ko adama kayro hino baro nim banko do le ngala gila min kara Sri Lanka ngol mo do way ke Gambia bar adam baro ning alman bale be diam kan ni watol be ko non pasita bulon kay aliya fu nyame alta moru alta subo ndol dem mamman wala Gambia anema moje ko be mamman wala Gambia mbi sabarin la ko ngam fo forcé nyame be ala dan du kare juso nyabo bar wallahi min kara Sri Lanka adama no manke ni si ko rewtide ni si ko ni brothers nalka dun ni si ko rew kono every so manda kan si kilin tapa ko rew ke jibe and they have the IQ of cattle ni si haklo le bolla Dou Sano haklo fontela wallahi ni si haklo le be ni so nyin e kadun ko rew ko ne kan si kilin lipa every day a tribe how long can you keep doing that billahi fon ni si kilin so loy fe lunge
thank you very much thank you so much for that absolutely yeah I totally agree with you but even if you look at Dou Sano's claims, even if cost of bread, I think the kind of bread he was showing in the picture, those kind of breads over here in Kansas, at least in the grocery store I go to, they are only 96 cents.
Yep.
They're not even up to $1. So, but even if you go by even if bread is $6 here, that $6 is it's a smaller portion of an American's earnings than it is in Gambia, an average Gambian's earnings, right? So the Gambian is feeling a bigger pinch of that price than the American is. So it is very misleading for him to compare price of bread in US to the price of bread in the Gambia, in terms of how the Gambian feels the pressure of that on his income, right? But that's that for that. We will move on to the claims made by our friend, the Commissioner General of Gambia Revenue Authority.
Can you give me 1 second? Let me just show the audience, that you can buy this bread from Walmart less than $4. So I don't understand where.
Absolutely, yes.
And the bread that he was also showing, usually by the time they put them there, they only have maybe 24 hours to expire.
Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. So last week, Dr. Conte, Mr. Colley, the Commissioner General, Yankuba Dabo, who I consider a good friend, I know him very well. He made some remarks that kind of come across as a warning to the Gambian government about the subsidies that they are continuing to give to stabilize the price of basic commodities in the Gambia, as well as fuel in the Gambia. And he estimated this to be at the tune of $1.3 billion this year alone, from January to the present. $1.3 billion lost revenue to the Gambia, to the government, because of the subsidies of fuel and basic commodities. And he is concerned that this may impact government services very negatively. He underscored that one can understand that the government is trying to help the ordinary Gambian afford these products. But nonetheless, it is a loss of revenue to the Gambia, to the Gambian government. I think, this is what I think. I think what is going on in the Gambia in terms of these subsidies is not very helpful. It's not in terms of the economy, right? It's not really helping the ordinary Gambian to afford these products. What it is doing largely is to sustain a higher price for these commodities. Because if you look at the fuel sector in the Gambia, and if you look at commodity prices in the Gambia, basic commodities, these products are not subject to external competition, right? Gambia does not export these products. They rely solely on importing them, right? And the importers are not really responding to subsidies on, let's take fuel, for example. Fuel price in the Gambia is one of the highest in the sub-region. And continuing to subsidize fuel prices is keeping a high demand for fuel. If you leave the price, instead of subsidizing, if you leave it to the market forces, the price may initially be high, but it's going to diminish demand for it. And eventually the price will fall and the market will stabilize the price level of this product to a level that will be eventually affordable by all, right? But if you, at this high price level, if you continue to subsidize it, you are maintaining a high demand for this product at that high price level, in my view. And that is why I think even though government continue to subsidize these products, the price is not responding to those subsidies. It remained high consistently. And the same argument can be made in the food basic commodities, food items as well. You know, even government at some point admitted that the tax waivers they are doing, the subsidies they are giving to food importers, it's not reflected. The food prices are not responding to it. And part of the reason is because these subsidies are basically what they're doing is that it's maintaining a high demand for these products at that high price. If the subsidies are gone and the price continue to rise, people will look for alternative foods, people will decrease their demand for these products, and the price will be forced to come down to a level that is affordable without government subsidies, right? So it can be painful initially, but the long-term solution to this is to remove these subsidies. And even IMF, I believe, some time ago has been pushing countries like the Gambia to consider, lifting these subsidies, removing these subsidies, because ultimately that is what is going to, in the long run, stabilize prices of these products. So these subsidies, in my view, are not helpful. They only appear to be helping the ordinary citizen, but it is not. And, the bulk of the benefit of these subsidies are going into the pockets of wealthy people. understandably, many Gambians rely on transportation, right, to pay fares and back and forth to where they're going. But the bulk of the consumers of this fuel are wealthy Gambians. In fact, many of them, many in the government don't probably even pay for fuel. They use government fuel coupons, right? Which can be a different topic itself, because I think government need to, if not completely eliminate those coupons, they need to seriously restrict their use, because it's one way that is, a big waste of money and resources for this government. So I totally agree with Commissioner General that these subsidies are not sustainable. They can be considered as lost revenue that is badly needed by this government to provide services to the Gambian people. And the subsidies are not impacting the price of these products. The price of these products are not responsive to the subsidies at all. So if the subsidies are directed to the agricultural sector, food production in the country, I think that would be more beneficial than trying to subsidize business people who are importing products from abroad and also trying to subsidize fuel price. Those prices are not responding to these subsidies at all. Their prices continue to rise and remain at very high prices, without impacting, benefiting the Gambian consumers. So subsidies should be directed to domestic production in agriculture, in my view, rather than this sector. Dr. Conte, Mr. Collins.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Hmm?
Go ahead, Doctor.
No, it's a
So, if you look at India today, you know what India is doing? India, they're buying fuel wherever they can find it at a discounted price. There are nations currently, as I speak, they have exorbitant amounts of fuel, and they're looking for markets to sell it. Okay? But Gambia now is controlled by the ECOWAS Boys Club. So they're towing the line of that Macky Sall Boys Club. This is not safe for the sub-region. These people are the buffoons. Barrow doesn't have a clue, wallahi. There are nations in the world today. They've been best friends with America, but they told America, you know what? Excuse us for the time being. We're going to buy our fuel from a source that is affordable and in the best interest of our people. India is a struggling nation. India is third world. Don't pay attention to that so-called nuclear capability. Okay? So they go and buy fuel at an exceedingly cheap rate. They are storing those quantities as I speak. But regardless, even if the world market, I was reading what the ports director and his henchmen, I don't know if it is the permanent secretary or the director himself, but someone just released another statement, and I was looking at it just a few hours ago. I think that was in response to what we broadcast some time ago about the way the port is destroying our Gambian market for the betterment of Senegal's Macky Sall. One of the greatest achievements of Sadada Jawara, a lot of Gambians don't even talk about this, how Jawara was able to compete in a friendly way with the Senegalese market. Senegal in business, what they've been practicing is called protectionism. You don't allow your neighbor's goods and products to enter your territory. You don't. Zero. As I speak right now, worldwide, the thing is still happening. Before I was born, it was there. They had that monolithic venom against Gambia when it comes to business. It's not a competition. I would not call it fierce competition. They just want to kill Gambia's market. They want us to rely on Senegal to import everything directly from them. And that's what is happening right now. You go to Berkama right now or Serekna, talk to the market women, they will tell you, even carrots, cucumber, vegetables, they're coming from Senegal. We have a more fertile soil than Senegal does. But because of protectionism in business, Senegal has been perpetrating against Gambia. I talked to Dr. Cisse about this. Wallahi, I did. And today I'm revealing this. I had this conversation with some politicians in the Gambia. Sadauda Jawara, the most peaceful president we ever had in our history. Sadauda was able to tell Abdou, look, I love you very well. I love you to death. As sister nations, brother nations, but I also have people to take care of. I'm not saying those are the exact words of Jawara, but that was the business and foreign policy strategy Jawara has been maintaining. So now, even carrots are coming from Senegal. If the government gives us, if the government subsidizes Hamidou Jah of Jah Oil, and they're going to cherry pick who's going to benefit from those subsidies. You know, Hamidou Jah was complaining some time ago. Did you guys hear about that? He was complaining some time ago. So if Barrow subsidizes fuel importers, if he subsidizes their business, like you rightly put it, brother, Mr. Jada, to what extent is the market reflecting that? How are we seeing any go down of costs when it comes to fuel? America here, when Biden called Saudi Arabia and they were not answering their phones, so people laugh. The opposition, they laugh. Anti-democrats, they laugh. Yeah, Biden came to office and then he used his mouth to lambast the royal family. I don't like the royal family in Saudi Arabia. I don't. But when Biden came to power, one of the earliest things he did was he called Saudi Arabia as a rogue nation, blah blah blah, or the Achilles, Jamal Khashoggi, blah blah blah. So Saudi, they don't joke when it comes to if you use your tongue against them. They're dictators. They don't believe in democracy, something that I abhor. But it came a time when Biden needed them so badly. So he called them. They refused to answer their phones. I suffered. You all suffered, unless if you don't go to the gas pump. This is when fuel went to close to $6 a gallon. Biden had to swallow his own vomit. He called them. They would not answer their phone. He took a plane, went to Saudi Arabia. Fuel prices came down in America here. Okay, do we have that kind of leadership in the Gambia? No. I think what Barrow needs to do, instead of so-called subsidies to so-called people where they will cherry pick, whether it's going to be Hamidou Jah or some other Kalilu Wagies and whoever, God knows who. Instead of doing that, go to any other country. They have excess amounts of fuel right now. Don't forget about their black market. I know nations that have food.
So, Mr. Colley, if you don't mind, let me interject here briefly, just a minute. So, so you just touched on how U.S. responded to high gas prices domestically, and were able to bring the price down. See, exactly, that is the point. So basically, if you look at what Biden did, his visit to Saudi Arabia to impact on, to convince the MBS, Saudi leader, to increase production of gas, and also his domestic response by releasing some of the reserves So basically what U.S. did was to impact the supply side of this commodity. And that is what succeeded in bringing the price down. In the Gambia, what we are doing is the very opposite. Instead of trying to impact the supply side of these commodities, we are trying to pump in subsidies to sustain the demand. So we are not able to impact the supply side, but we are willing to sustain the demand side of it. So demand remains high, supply remains restricted. That is why the prices are not coming down. So rather than coming down, they continue to rise or stay extremely high for most Gambians. Continue, please.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you look at the barrel to pump ratio, even if a barrel costs OPEC countries, even if a barrel is like $67, nothing close to $100, it's not going to reflect on the Gambian pump prices. Take note. Right. When things go up in the Gambia, they never come down. Our markets are not in our hands. They are in the hands of Guineans, but now drastically Senegalese. That's why even carrots, they are imported. Okay? So regardless, if Saudi Arabia says, if OPEC countries get together, they say tomorrow, they say, okay, we're going to sell instead of $110 a barrel, we're going to, it's now going to be a fixed price for the next quarter. It's going to be a fixed price of $67 to a barrel. Wallahi, I guarantee you, it will not reflect at the pump prices in the Gambia. Well, we have, you know, when you guys talk about the subsidy, that subsidy, I wish there's like a journalist in the Gambia or some other patriotic citizen that's going to do some basic digging to find out who are the beneficiaries of that so-called subsidy. Is it just the cartel that we have, the Hamidou Diaz, who is seizing every land in the Gambia, erecting petrol stations, especially in Brikama? Okay, is it just Hamidou Diaz? Hamidou Diaz fell out with Barrow some time ago. It's like a few months ago because his cement business is being destroyed by Barrow. He's bringing cement from Senegal. Okay, I was listening to some the National Assembly member for one of these constituencies in Foni just a few days ago. This debate that they had, session that they had less than 72 hours ago.
Right.
She was saying something that we've been writing about. These GMOs are now coming to Gambia through Senegal, because if you grow carrots in the Gambia, they try to fight your business. Trucks come from Senegal every single day, and in 3 days they don't have a lasting shelf life. They have a very poor shelf life. That's the first indication that this is GMO. So the vegetables that come from Senegal, according to this National Assembly member, we've been writing about this. We've been saying this forever. Gambians are not paying attention. Okay, 3 days, tomatoes will turn into something else. Very poor shelf life. That's a GMO product. So the Senegalese market is killing the Gambian market. Now, talking about the subsidy again, that's an interesting topic. No matter how long our government keeps subsidizing our fuel importer cartel, you know what would continue to happen? Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, even Conakry, we will have an influx of them. They will buy and then take it to their countries. Look at what they did to our fertilizer. Because we have very corrupt people in the civil service, from the president himself and in the civil service. They did the same thing to our fertilizer. When prices are cheap, you know, Gambia, Sarada did a fantastic job to maintain Gambia's economy at a level very competitive in the sub-region. I remember I was a kid in those days, but they used to call Gambia's dalasi the dollar of the sub-region. You guys all remember that? The dollar of the sub-region. Nigerians, Sierra Leoneans, Ghanaians, Senegalese, Guineans, all over the world, they flock to Gambia, even if they will be doctor shoes. You know, if the earnings that they have from that doctor shoe business, I was a kid in Brikama in those days, even in the early 90s, that dalasi, they converted it into dollars and they send it back to Sierra Leone. Barrow has destroyed Gambia worldwide. The destruction started with the Ajame, our economy. Yes, I know that very well. I know that very well. But wallahi, what did I say the other day, last week? 89 billion external debt. Gambia's foreign debt right now, what Barrow has incurred, 89 billion. He found it at, I think, 50 something.
50,
he almost doubled.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay. So even no matter how far the subsidy goes into impact the market on the suppliers, wallahi brothers, Mr. Jada, Dr. Conte, Guineans, Senegalese, God knows where they come from, they will come to Gambia, buy fuel. And what did the Minister of Trade, what did he say? And then what did his permanent secretary say? Some time ago, I was sick to the stomach. He said, Gambia, in a nutshell, to paraphrase, he said, probably we don't even need a port in the Gambia. It's a blessing for us to be importing from Senegal. These people have mortgaged our children, my children, your children's children, and their future to these people, the Kalilu Wages, the Hamidou Diaz. They don't care, wallahi. That's why they've been so tribalist against Mandinkas. I'm not a Mandinka, but you know what I love? I talk to Gambians. We have to talk about this tribal discourse over. We have to. In America here, when there's a George Floyd incident, you bring a Hispanic to CNN, a black person, African American. You know, you bring the group. Let them have a discussion. What are we afraid of? What are we hiding? And this is destroying Gambian society. If you are a truth teller, oh no, Mandinkola better UDP. But I'm very proud to be speaking Mandinka. If you tell Barrow the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Colley. Thank you very much for that contribution. We truly appreciate it. Dr. Conte.
No, I'm going to let my good friend from New York, the bread man.
Ibrahim, okay. Ibrahim, go ahead.
Mr. Dibasi.
Yeah.
What do you?
No, I think your discussion is interesting. So I'm a student. I'm really listening, and I think you're really talking about very important issues, the pertinent issues in the country. So I hope the listeners, or your audience will really make some actions so that things can change. Slowly, things will be better. I just pray, inshallah, may Allah help the country and help our leaders to really.
Mr. Diba, how much do you spend buying a loaf of bread in New York since you live in?
Yeah.
I feel it. Muro feel it. Muro Kaulak. Don't do one gold. Yeah, I don't do one gold today. Muro Kaulak.
Kaulak Muru.
Dou Sano, not a video jelly, not a cool, but it's just sad. Low bread here is very, very cheap.
I don't know Muro Nado. Wala leko kole konte. Ye Muro jele, e kondo kunda ko jela Muro findin. Iko kole konte. Ari, kole kunda gol fa mu konte, ko kole konte.
What I see, I don't like kind of like talking about people, but I think Dou Sano is an embarrassment to the country, to be honest, because in the other video, like he was promoting New York, like he feel like New York, he thought New York is the capital of US. So
yeah.
So that was very embarrassing. I watched that video. I was very ashamed of myself. So those type of people, they are not enlightened. They are not aware. So if they are in front of issues or they are leading stuff in the country, that's a worrisome, definitely, because as you said,
Diba, you got to be careful. He's the president's political advisor.
Janka Mburo da man kolea wonya, Mburo is cheap. Like what, as you guys said, like you can have a loaf of bread here, like less than $1. So you got a long fun, but the Gambia Benjamin, they could worry a lot. The cost of living, and then in the country, like the crime rate. These two issues are worrisome because unrest, nobody pray for things like that, but those are the signs. Certain things need to take a hackle to them, because at the end of the day, what a crime will the Bangkok and to be honest, so.
And actually,
you people are our profs, so, you are intellectual, so
well, thank you very much, Ibrahim. Thank you for that contribution. Well, Dr. Conte is the professor here, so thank you for that contribution. Dr. Conte, unless you have something to add to this briefly.
Yeah, I want to say something. I think the GRA Director General should concentrate on increasing tax revenue, because if he says that subsidies are to the tune of $2 billion, they have the capacity, the Gambia Revenue Authority, to collect $2 million is more in taxes. Because I have been saying that Gambia Revenue Authority is almost like a football game. 1/3 of the revenue they collect goes to the government, 1/3 goes to the taxpayer, and 1/3 is spent by the GRA officials. So I wish he will concentrate on saying that, because if government says that you need to collect 13 billion I think you could say, well, government says 13 billion. Why can't we collect 15 billion? They have the capacity to do that. I don't think he's the right person. Oh, by the way, was this not the same person who bought those SUVs for in 2017?
Prado SUVs, right?
He was the one. And then he normally goes to the state house with bags of money. Huh? I know he's your friend, but no, this is sad. Anyway, Gambia is just like a banana republic now. So
Right.
I just stop right there.
Well, thank you, Dr. Conte. Thank you very much for that. All right, our final topic, we're going to make that quite brief. We will talk about the Interior Minister's press briefing, press conference a couple of days ago during the week. Mr. Yankuba Sonko, I think he's the Interior Minister. He came out to meet the press to discuss the situation of crime in the Gambia, violent crime in the Gambia, which is on the rise. We talked about this last week, I believe. And Dr. Conte, we were talking about during the time we were growing up in the Gambia, you could count the number of violent crimes in the country. The only two I could remember that people were talking about at the time, I did not even witness the Salt Samba and Matar Sad case may have happened before I was born, but it was still the one that was people can recall during the time I was growing up. And then the other one was the 1981 Mustafa Danso case. Those were pretty much the two most prominent ones. There were a few other ones, like the contest rightly stated, which also happened. But these two were the prominent that most people of my generation would recall easily. Now it is a daily occurrence or a weekly occurrence in the Gambia. And the Ministry of Interior decided to address this, perhaps maybe to rebut it, because there is there's a claim in the Gambia that these crimes are on the rise. At least that's the perception. The ministry tried to debunk it. They said actually crime rate has declined. I understand where they're coming from. The statistics, can speak a different to a different fact than what the people feel in their lives on a daily basis. So they shouldn't just look at the numbers. They need to be sensitive to the perception of these things. They make the same argument about corruption. Actual corruption may be far less than the perception of corruption. We need to understand this. There are a lot of instances where corruption is the issue, or the allegation of corruption is the issue. There may not actually be a corruption in the actual corruption that occurred, but failure to act on these things gives the impression and fail to clarify whether corruption is there or not. So the people perceive corruption, right? So the perception and the actual occurrence may be different. But if you care about the society, you care about the people you rule over, you got to care about their perception, how they perceive the economy to be, how they perceive their security situation to be. You got to care about these things and do everything you can to reduce or manage those. So the Interior Ministry came out debunking the fact that crime rates are increasing in the country, or at least, but they failed to address the issue of perception, right? Maybe we have a lot of free press now. We have a lot of media houses. Crimes are being reported more frequently than they used to be. So the perception is high, even though the actual numbers may be declining, right? But we need to address this. Instead of addressing that, the ministry actually blamed families and communities for harboring and perpetrating criminal behavior. I think that probably is the worst, that you can go. You cannot blame families for the crimes that their children commit. There's so much that families can do. Law enforcement, we pay you guys to provide our security. we do not pay families to provide security. Families raise their kids. Hopefully they raise their kids the best way. You know, there are several things that bring people into criminal behavior. The economy is a big factor. The services we provide in the society are big factors. The police need to look at these things and try to manage crime and provide our security and safeties. They need to work with our lawmakers to legislate, to enact laws that protect young people, that keeps young people out of the streets and into criminal behavior. Now, the minister and his co-speakers at the press conference acknowledged that most of these violent crimes involve young people. Many of them underage, actually below 18 years. And there are several issues that, you know, this speaks to. We need to have laws that restrict young people's access to certain things. They talked about young people, landlords renting houses to young people 14, 15 years old. There need to be laws that prevent young people from entering into legal business contracts. And also there should be laws that restrict young people's access to cigarettes and drugs, right? I don't think we have laws of this nature in the Gambia. So there is wide access to prohibited substances by young people. Young people have, you know, unrestricted access to cigarettes, marijuana, you know, probably, you know, fentanyl. Maybe fentanyl is even present in the Gambia. Nobody knows. But there's a lot of drug problems in the Gambia, according to the Ministry of Interior itself. So, you know, there needs to be concerted effort to address these issues. And also the issue of Bantakeda came, the drug case that is still pending in court. Bantakeda is still at large. And the minister funnily said many Gambians believe that Bantakeda is not actually a person. He might be a ghost because they couldn't find him. And the minister said that Bantakinta, he can assure the people that Bantakeda is not a ghost. He is a living person with blood and flesh and blood and bones, right? And his proof is that Bantakeda has properties in the Gambia, and he is legally married to a woman who is physically present in the Gambia, and he also has bank accounts in the Gambia. And I thought that was funny because I was thinking you can get all those things in the Gambia without ever stepping your foot in the Gambia, right? That is quite possible, I think. After all, Gambians are paying ghost workers for decades, right? There are people on Gambia's payroll who are not even alive. And, you know, I think most Gambians have come to terms with this, right? You know, we have tried to revise our payroll system, the people actually in active duty who are receiving salaries. But I don't know if they are still able to weed out all the ghost salary earners in the Gambia. So if that is possible, I don't believe Bantakeda is a ghost, but certainly the minister's argument does not does not completely prove that he actually exists, because those proofs he gave actually are not, in my view, valid arguments, because you can have all these properties. You can have a property in the Gambia. You can have a bank account in the Gambia. You can have legally a legal spouse in the Gambia without ever being in the Gambia. So if we ghost employees in the Gambia for decades receiving salaries, suddenly this is possible too, right? So people who are speculating this cannot totally be dismissed away by the proofs that the minister gave, right? But the issue of crime is very concerning in the Gambia, Doctor. So anybody traveling to Gambia needs to be very, very careful. Well, Gambia is a big tourist destination, and tourism is the second highest contributor to our GDP. So we want to see tourism flourish in the Gambia to hopefully help, improve the lives of Gambians. But with this high crime rate, we have to talk about it, and it's going to be difficult for people to trust going into Gambia. And the minister tried to urge Gambians, literally he was trying to tell Gambians not to be talking about these high crimes because it's going to discourage people from coming to Gambia. Well, that is not the solution. The solution is deal with it and bring crime rates down. Gambians will have to talk about this, and non-Gambians will have to talk about it if we have high crime in the Gambia, because we are all concerned about our safety, right? When we go to Gambia, we want to ensure that we are safe, that we are able to return back to our families abroad. We don't want to go to Gambia and perish there. And, and these things are very common in the Gambia. Dr. Conte, Mr. Collins, briefly on this last topic.
The minister said 15% decrease in crime rate. I think that's the so-called statistics I saw.
Right, that's what he said. Yes.
I'm very interested in the minister showing us that the raw data. How did they collect that statistic? 15% decrease, really? In just September, 7 murders in just September. So I don't know if that minister actually understands 2 + 2 is not pi r square h. 2 + 2 is 4. I don't know if that minister can even give us that mathematical data, that 2 + 2 is actually 4, not something else. Okay, so if we have like real good journalists in the Gambia at that press conference, they would have asked him, where did you get this statistic? How did you collect this data? How did you do your sampling? September alone, so what yardstick did they use? They can use the Jawara era, but that's far-fetched, that's too far. They can use the Yajame era, that's also kind of a little far. But they can use, since Barrow came to power, how many murders have been committed in the Gambia? I can send you guys a picture of a youngster in Brikama. That youngster killed somebody, I think in Brikama Nyambai area. They grabbed him, took him to court. He ended up in Mile 2. The Barrow government released him. They will not release political prisoners. They will tear gas you and they will take you to Mile 2. There we still have political prisoners. They will not release those people. Okay? That youngster, he killed somebody in Brikama Nyambai area. They took him to Mile 2. They released him. Guess what? He continued robbing houses. He robbed people. 10 different compounds. We also this somebody posted it, a Gambian posted it. The 10th compound that he robbed, I think the 11th one, the neighbor knew very well, probably I'm going to be the next victim. So God help him. He was able to apprehend him. After killing somebody, they took him to Mile 2. They released him. And that's different from the little youngster, Gay. His last name was Gay, who ran over 3 people along Senegambia Highway. They were doing streetcar racing a couple of years ago. He killed 3 people. They took him and they released him. The diaspora protested online, on social media. They were scared. The government was scared. They grabbed him again. And it's very possible that they have released him again because you never know. Just like the Senegalese guy who killed Jibril Cissé in Sanyang, Ghana C, they don't even want GRTS to say the name of the guy. That way Gambians will be oblivious of his identity. No one knows. Zero. No one knows what happened. If you speak Mandinka or you oppose Barrow, you are a target. They tear gas you, they put you in Mile 2, or the paras will beat you up. That's the mantra, right? But the kid who murdered somebody in Brikama, and that's not the first one. The kid who murdered somebody in Brikama Nyambai, they took him to Mile 2, they released him. He continued robbing people's houses. And this is a youngster. The 11th compound or the 10th compound, the 10th victim, finally, God helped him, nab him. They were able to apprehend him. He tied his hands and his legs. I can show you guys the picture. And he went on Facebook. He said, Baro government, you can do whatever you want. I have apprehended this guy and I'm going to deal with him the way I want. You can do whatever you want. You can call me anti-human rights, whatever. Security lapses in the Gambia. And that is different from, General Bojang of Gap. General Bojang of Gap. General Bojang has a nephew. We all saw the video. General Bojang has a nephew, I think in Bruford area, who murdered another person. They took him to Mile 2. They released him. He came and murdered another person. Come on. Are we under a spell in the Gambia? This is one of the reasons I don't like to talk nowadays, because I lose my temper very easily. Fontolu yentolu dankale. Buntalo ye bung dinko kono. Ibulo ye bulo ki dinko kono buntalo ki bunje. Kanu ga wo buntalo imbung. Badanga jibe fa be mundal ko tek. Ye bulo bula je. Ay bung ko tek. Buntalo fla imbung. Mo ka sadi mo na makoy. Bari badanga bulo ki je fa be mundal this time. And look, that's a common denominator here, brother. I know I talk a lot because, brothers, this is serious. There's a common denominator. What is the common denominator? What is that common denominator? There's a pattern. The repetitive pattern shifts from one person to another. Gambia is a small country. If we have one serial killer and that serial killer disappears, we will understand. We will confine the problem to just one person, one source. But we have different sources. The common denominator is different people committing heinous crimes, getting away with it. The same government keeps releasing them into the public. These people are animals. They're not fit to live with you and I, or our children, or our family members, or our distant relatives. Not even with our enemies. Are they fit to live with? Ye more fasinya killing. Ye some mile too. Itata ye bula. Nika baro oppose nime UDP de kilo jela. Wallahi te kilo jela. Walma mol far mi me maltu dot ye ma mol far but ye barole oppose. All right, good. General Bojang nephew lañ ñit ako ya bula kabri ya bula ya samman ko take ay modo fana fa ya muta doctor General Bojang mo ne fo ako yalla ne ale modo dila maybe ala fana daw alama daw ñam. Because when we have our problems, when we err seriously, we blame God. Man limania for understand, man misme understand told we are just a pathetic nation. I'm sorry to put it like that. Mafo gamen dol tiye mel ko kul katama wol bije. But ni kun katama Gambia bi ka sima ba ke fam. Ibi mutale bi kelendela. Ndaga mo foto jama Dr. Conte kan biami wuti. Nkai ko buntalo. Ni buntalo seka ye bunyima loy buntalo. Ikai ko he buntalo la bunga fele. Yikai batu na ngi pet. Ya lay bulti te kai ka ngani bunga loy tele buntalo. You think buntalo is going to tell you thank you? Buntalo bi bunni but. That's what is happening in the Gambia. Because Bundalo has the IQ of a Bundalo. Ate milno ka destroy don katinya. Arambaro be wole nyama. Dou Sano be wole nyama. The justice system be wole nyama. The only time they will be stringent against you and they will rise to the occasion vehemently and most efficaciously would be when you are anti-Adama Barrow. Nko. Ndenu Usainu nyol buka ben wutumo. Anu hanka bidina komodo fa buka die Usainu Dabo. But look at the vehemence in response. They applied. Kabring election results will be findikang molta da double kodada ye tiaga so fay hamola la randal ko sungol be mol model le kodal ko e be mol fare nyimbe baro watela baronte be min furale nakuma la my brothers, because the more I talk the more I lose my temper and I don't want to be on record even raising my voice billahi ko ribali nyet brothers yalo ala ko kono aljana wa fiha ma tastahihi al-anfus wa talazzu al-a'yun ako aljana bo nyam. Everything that the eyes could delight in, everything that the souls could desire. So femfenkadia adamano nyaye ile jero aki ni diende. Yalantol we are just hardwired as men. We are hardwired ninga musunyi majiro, we don't have a choice but to look. Adamano lo nyama. Iwere mu alima multiwo, imu anabi multiwo. Ninga musunyi majiro wallahi. Ni sunkudo mel sunkudo foro manikol ka famina sunkudo karefa. Na tamada wallahi hanimu alima modi ibajibel, and you will notice. Your brain cells will be ignited. They will tell you something. Alalen dawo nyama. Ale nyina long adami en dawo nyama. Ako moleko aljana wonyon jamale bije. Everything that the eyes could delight in and everything that the souls could desire. These two things. Nyala jero lemba anin na niyo minka dia niyo. Ako aljana wole bije. So aljana summarized in just this half of a verse. Ning alente so aljana le mo ne duwala mbatu ngin la complete ning alente so aljana le mo ne duwala brother Jata doctor mbafula alayko, can you play a Blu-ray video kabrin Dou Sano ka jina New York abes be jika na wasti ko santo left your video play on aljana la YouTube channel or Dou Sano betara dawra daga dem hakli male brothers Dou Sano betara dawda wo musol min ka fa timoto nga fay Dou Sano be dawda Allahu a'lam be duwala nak be tubi gambe dingole jam fay bani mufti malta de la kabrol ko de inino dena no nyulla jaw ya kam ndebe ala dana ning alen so aljana ma fo mba mala fo be aljana so mba fa ala tere mon promise alfana ko nyik lati video play nyabam please dam ko ngaji be rek won be dunya kan diam nyin Dou Sano nyule alfana ko wala tufsidu fil ard ba'ida islahi do not spread mischief on earth anabla shuabla mola koy ko wala tabkhasu an-nas ashya'ahum mol hako alkana atinyay bulu alkana mol nakari hako you know that society won't come kenu ni be tiyo suman nay ka mol hako kopot ika podol mu de ka suman daw ni dasante wala mol corruption 38 million you want to contrast ka tiyo poto dasandi ni be asuman ba wafla customer can you contrast that with 38 million anim fatu ba baro kodole ani airport revenue kamin sis mol bol ani ka dola bungol demolis baro be corruption mingi nata akona ayo ka jati damna baro nde ba fala areto kay wo DVD play bang Dou Sano bi sembo bato lebul ga ci ngala mam bul ko sulali par maybe ñing tito be tala jani aljana lu mo be sila ko wallahi a Bellona's bridegroom is going to rise somewhere in the Gambia abandon la place do wolum sana manjanyu le.
Thank you, Mr. Colley. Thank you very much. I am very impressed by those quotes from the Quran. Very impressive. Dr. Conte, briefly, you have anything to add to this? Diba?
Mr. Dibasi. It's offensive about face Alajaba.
I'm following you, definitely. I'm listening, but I think you're going in the right way, and I'm listening. I'm learning a lot.
Okay.
From you guys.
Okay, but I don't have anything to add because even thinking that certain local crime went up, so I don't want. But it wonder about Gamara, Jaran Kole, they are very happy that because the minister is from Nyomi.
Okay, but just a final word. Even if let us assume that crime has declined by what the minister said, by 15%. What we cannot ignore is that the perception of crime is very, very high in the Gambia.
Yeah,
most Gambians in their lives feel that crime is very rampant in the Gambia. Crime has gone up way, way up. And that alone deserves attention. We need to address that, right? Not only the number of actual crimes, but the perception of it also matters because the perception is what really affects our politics, right? So we need to care about that. And, we need to, like Polly rightly said, how the minister arrived at those numbers is still a question that needs to be addressed. But I am particularly very concerned about even only the perception of it, And we're going to end with that. And I thank you very much for being here, Mr. Colley. Thank you for being here, Dr. Conte. We hope to meet here again next Sunday. I will post. Yes.
We also have Mr. Ibrahim Adiba.
Mr. Dibasi, yes, in New York. Mr. Dibasi, thank you for being here again. Even though you claim to be a student, your contribution to Dou Sano's case is very, very welcome, very insightful. We truly appreciate that. We hope to see you often here. I know Dr. Conte will be reaching out to you every time. But again, thank you all for being here. We want to thank our audience also for being here with us. Send us your comments, your observations, your ideas. We will see you again next Sunday. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.